You're listening to Talkline with Zev Brenner, America's premier Jewish broadcast on the air since 1981.
And now, here's your host.
Okay, Ina Vernikov, Councilwoman Ina Vernikov joins us. She's a councilwoman in Brooklyn, and she's hardworking. It's a very important election that's taking place. So, Councilwoman Ina Vernikov, thank you for joining us.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. If you're able to get out your camera, we're also live on YouTube as well, if that's possible. So, first, I want to begin. You're a Republican, one of the few Republican Jewish legislators around in the New York metropolitan area. You must be beaming with pride that the President of the United States finally bombed the nuclear reactors in Iran.
Oh, I can't even tell you how excited I am tonight after Shabbat turning on the news. Look, for a minute there, I think a lot of us in the Jewish community were really scared that maybe the isolationists within the Republican Party, were going to take us back to Obama's foreign policy of appeasement when it comes to Iran. I'm sure everybody remembers that, during his reign in office and right before he left, he gave handouts and bent the knee to Iran. And I think that, there's a good argument that perhaps October 7th would have never happened if Obama didn't embolden Iran the way that he did. But tonight we are so excited that 3 nuclear facilities were bombed by the United States, that the president is working closely with Bibi Netanyahu to save humanity from the worst terrorists on this planet. So we are so excited tonight for this, and I think we're going to see really good things. The golden age of America is here.
Well, it's terrific. I was beaming with pride, and even though the AOCs are ready to impeach the president, that's what I heard too. But that's why this election, by the way, I'm going to say it throughout the night, Ina, is so important, because it sends a message that we cannot allow supporters of the Iranian regime to really gain power and traction in a place like New York City.
Oh, absolutely. Very scary. Everybody, look, Republican or Democrat, you have to come out to vote in this election. There's still time. Tomorrow is the last day of early voting. The election day is going to be hot, so maybe you want to get out tomorrow. It's all day, 9 to 5, to vote. If you're a Democrat, vote against Mamdani. I don't care who you vote for, just vote against Mamdani. In November, you can vote for Curtis Lewa, but you have to vote against Mamdani. He cannot be the Democratic nominee. And then if you're a Republican, you got to come out, and you live in District 48, you got to come out and vote for me, because I'm going to keep standing up for our community, for the Jewish community, and for New Yorkers and for America.
Now, everybody knows the mayor race is a hotly contested race, but I think yours is also a very contested race. It's a lot of excitement, a lot going on, and I hope people come out and vote. What are you hearing from your constituents out there?
So I think that, the issue is that we are not used to a Republican primary in this district. And, in New York, but especially in this district, we flipped the seat in 2021 from Democrat to Republican, and nobody really voted in primaries here. And since I came into office, Republicans started running. People started switching from Democrat to Republican. They saw that there's a red wave and this is a Republican district. And people, think that they could just come in and because they have an R at the end of their name that they could run as a Republican. So it's because of a low voter turnout, these primaries become complicated because you never know who's going to turn out. Right? Because people are just not used to it. They think, oh, we're going to vote for you in November. We're Democrats. We support you. We're going to vote for you in November. But in this election, you could only vote for me if you're a Republican. So it just becomes a little complicated. But we are hearing such positive, such positive comments, and there's so much excitement. So we're very confident, but we're still working really hard to not just win, but win big, to send a message that, first of all, you got to be a real Republican if you want to, represent this district. And second of all, that we're going to continue fighting the radical left and standing up to the Democrats, and that we're going to send very strong fighters to City Hall to represent this community.
Now, how many people are we talking about in a Republican primary, such as the 48th district in Brooklyn? Because I know that very few people vote, generally speaking. I hope this primary this season is going to be different. But how many Republicans are there in this whole area of what you represent?
So there are about 27,000 registered Republicans in our district. But you ready to hear the numbers from last primary?
What's the number? About 2,000?
2,400 people voted in the last primary.
That's a shocking number.
In 2023.
Wow.
And actually, I got more votes in that Republican primary in 23 than 3 gubernatorial candidates together. So we did pretty well, but still, if you look at the numbers, it's a very low, number. So really every vote counts in this election.
So how do we motivate people? I know all the organizations are pushing people to come out and vote, but I'm still hearing from people saying, well, I don't like any of the mayoral candidates, I'm staying home. I've heard this from people. How do we motivate people to come out?
I mean, they have to understand who the candidates for mayor are. I don't think we have a really great candidate in the Democratic primary. And of course, I don't support any of the Democrats, but people have to understand who Zohran Mamdani is. This is a guy who does not believe that the Jewish state has a right to exist as a Jewish state. This is a guy who is pro BDS and, not just anti-Semitic and anti-Israel. This is a guy who's a straight up socialist. And for someone like me who came from the Soviet Union, who remembers as a child the bread lines, standing in line with my grandfather for milk and bread, and having nothing on the shelves. I remember that so clearly, even as a child. It's a very dangerous phenomenon that he's trying to bring to New York City by promising to everybody that we're going to get stuff free. We're going to have free buses. We're going to have free supermarkets, everything's going to be free. Well, who's going to pay for it? In New York City, in a blue city, it's very attractive to say that we're going to get things for free. But these people a lot of these liberals, they don't work. They don't understand what it's like to own a business, to have a family and support the family, to work at full time. So because they don't understand that the idea of things for free is very attractive to them, because they don't understand the question of who's going to pay for it. So it's a very dangerous guy that we have running.
I agree. In fact, I joke. He says free lunch, free supermarkets, free buses, free Palestine. Everything is free, right? They can't deliver in any of them. Hopefully, he won't even have that position. I'm just concerned that people come out and vote on Election Day. What are you hearing is the biggest issue in your district?
I think the two biggest issues, just like around New York City in general, is public safety and the migrant crisis. And of course, public safety encompasses anti-Semitism. I think that's an issue that's, really across the city and across the United States right now. Obviously, it's skyrocketing anti-Semitism. I've been on it before it became, so to speak, popular. I was following the situation at the City University of New York, our streets since 2020. I mean, we've had a skyrocketing rise in anti-Semitism.
Everybody's copying. They're saying, that, hey, Cuomo has an anti-Semitism party. The mayor has an anti-Semitism party. Everybody seems to be jumping on the bandwagon of anti-Semitism. I know you were there at the beginning, and you were fighting it, whether it was in City College and other areas in the New York City area. We've been going on for a while, but it seems like everybody's jumping onto the bandwagon now.
Oh yeah, well they need the Jewish votes and they need the Jewish money. So people need to understand that. And when Mayor Eric Adams says he's running on the line to end anti-Semitism, and when he's creating an anti-Semitism task force right before his election, I really hope that people are not falling for that, because I'll tell you personally that I have approached the mayor about anti-Semitism for the last 3.5 years, and this mayor has done absolutely nothing about fixing anti-Semitism. He has done nothing about CUNY, and now he's coming out thinking that the Jewish community is going to fall for his shtick, that he's creating some anti-Semitism task force. We just had a situation recently. I can't really talk about it because I promised the family that I'm not going to. It's a real situation with anti-Semitism on a college campus. And the family said they reached out to the anti-Semitism task force and nobody got back to them. So it's a sham. It really is. So I hope people are not buying into that, and are voting the right people in.
No, finally, there was a movement a couple of months ago to get registered Republicans to become Democrats. They've had some success. Has that affected you in your district?
There have been a bunch of individuals who have been talking about this and who have told me that they can't vote for me in this election because they've registered Democrat to vote against Mamdani. Look, I don't advocate for that because I think that we need to increase Republican numbers, but I do understand people, especially for this election, who wanted to switch, who wanted to have the opportunity to vote against Mamdani. I get it. Again, I don't advocate it, but I understand them.
Councilwoman Ina Vernikov, 48th District, thank you for joining us. Look forward to having you back again.
Thank you so much for having me. Don't forget to vote on June 24th. Or tomorrow.
Get your friends and relatives and everybody you know to vote, because this is such a crucial election, and I can't hammer it enough. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And there you have it, Councilwoman Ina Vernikov here on the